So, namaste again to everyone, and thank you for turning up again today. Yesterday, we ended the session, the first session, that we will practice a little. Some of us may have our own practices, and we may have been already working, bringing the mind to breath, like beginning to tame the mind. And if we did work a little with the mind, would we like to share our experiences? Any challenges, or was it completely doable? We can do it every day, possible to do it, or maybe not possible, it's just too much, or anything else? Yes.
Yeah, Monica, can I say something?
Yes, please, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, I've been trying to uh, discipline the mind through silence and focusing on my breath, and it's been a halting kind of journey because it's not so easy to switch off and just focus on breath. And I did that again today, and all sorts of fantastic thoughts come to the mind when you close your eyes and when you focus on your breath, and there are all sorts of random thoughts that come to the mind. So I guess over a period of time, practice will make it. But in respect of what you said yesterday, if it's okay with you, at some point in time, I just wanted you to please expound on two things. The purpose of life is growth of consciousness and not to be happy. Maybe at some point in time, I request you to do that. And the second, Monica, is you said the practice in Buddhism is a yadam practice, where you imagine you are the deity. I didn't get that. These are the two things I request you in the course of your uh,
Yes,
presentation to please do.
surely, surely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, what you just shared is very interesting because it's like, imagine that you have a beautiful palace, but you are hardly there in the palace to overlook it, to supervise it, how it is doing. And you're just roaming around all the time here and there. And now, when you come back to the palace, you realize that, oh my God, it's really very dirty and very chaotic and very crowded. So, it is not that all that dirt and dust and crowd was not there in the palace earlier. It was just that I was not present in order to witness that dirt and dust and whatever crowd is there. So when we bring our mind to the breath, it's like, breath is a thread through which mind comes back to the body. Like in, we have Indian system, we have wells, and in wells, to take out water, we have a thread or a rope which brings the bucket down and pulls it up. So like that rope, breath is called, or supposed to be, mystics have said, and we can experience it for our own self, that breath is that rope or a thread which actually brings back the mind to the body. Usually the mind is lost in thoughts and feelings and all the storylines that we may have and imaginations, as you were sharing, and it is not present in the body. The good thing with working with the body is that body is always in the present moment. It can't be in the past, it can't be in the future. And just like that, breath is always, we are always breathing in the present moment. We can't breathe in the past, we can't breathe in the future. So when the mind focuses on the breath rather than now focusing on, which it was doing earlier, say storylines and regurgitation and rumination of all the things that it can do, it brings itself to the breath, and by that it like holds it and comes back to the breath. And by breath we mean that it comes to the present moment in the body. And they say, mystics have said, that mind is the mind's home is body. When we are in the body, when we are in our home, how do we feel? We feel rested. Now I am back. But when we are all lost and scattered in our storylines, we don't feel rested. We drain our energies. So if we are convinced, as we were trying to convince ourselves yesterday, that from time to time, it is very nice to be mindful of the breathing. We may be going through any emotional turmoil, anything that we may be thinking of today, even then we can be conscious of the breath. Hmm? So we may be going through some disturbing emotion, but we are conscious of the breath. So what we are trying to do is that we are dealing with the emotion now through the breath. Through the present moment we are dealing with the emotion. So emotion has always two three elements to it. One element is you will have thoughts about that disturbing emotion, whatever is there would be a feeling aspect, a mood aspect, and then there would be a body aspect. There would be some constriction somewhere in the body because of that disturbing emotion. When we bring ourselves to the breath, we say that let me meet the emotion fully. We bring it to the breath, the mind. We don't get lost in the story, in the thoughts, in the feelings. We stay in the body. And then we keep breathing through, breathing through, breathing through, not getting again entangling ourselves in the thoughts or feeling aspect, but in the body we are going through that emotion. We see that if we do that enough longer, if we do that for a good time, our state of consciousness shifts. It's a very well known process, and all of us who are convinced, they can try this out, that whenever something overwhelming is there with you and you are feeling stuck in your mind and body and feelings, just don't go into the mind and feelings aspect. Stay in the body and go through the emotion. Like grieving, for example, you are grieving. Now if you are constantly thinking about what you have lost, it's like a never ending journey, and you can remain lost here. You'll just drain more and more energies, and nothing will get resolved. But if you keep breathing, if you are meeting that pain in the body, breathing through it, breathing through it, breathing through it, and if you again go into the slippery slope, bring the mind again to the breath, then you see that it shifts your consciousness. This is something we have to experiment. I can just talk about the theory here, but when we have a chance, we should experiment. So, coming back to the point what you were sharing, that when we bring our mind to the breath, we are present in the palace, which is the body, and we realize that, oh my God, it's quite a crowded space that is there. So, it is not that the crowd was not there earlier, it was just that I was not present. So, in the beginning, it can be too overwhelming, but as we persist in our practice and stay undisturbed by those thoughts and feelings and whatever storylines may be there, we have nothing to do with them. Then we stay with the breath fully in the present moment, and we see that slowly a kind of a sanity and order begins to come. The less we fuel those storylines, the less we entertain them, we see that a kind of sanity and order comes. Yeah. So the yidam practice again is very helpful. It may appear very far-fetched, but it's very helpful, the yidam practice. I'm not saying about the practice itself, I'm saying what it signifies. So usually we are all imagining all the time. It is just that we think those imaginations are not imaginations. That's truth, that's reality, right? So in the yidam practice, what they do is that they imagine themselves as a deity. For example, there is a deity called Tara, or Chenerazig Buddha in Buddhism. So you imagine yourself as that Buddha, and with all the thousand arms and beautiful decorations and everything. Now we don't have to do that, but what they want to say is, the question that was asked to that person, I'll share that video also with you later on the group. Somebody asked that, isn't it that I am hallucinating when I am imagining myself as the deity, because I know that I am not the deity. So then he says that, how have you ever questioned that all the time? Aren't you imagining? Why do you take all those rigidities and opinions of your mind as not imaginations? They are imaginations. Because if if some incident has happened in a family, or five people were there as a witness or involved in that incident, you will ask each person about that incident, and you will see that each person has its own story about that incident. Now, which one is true? Very interesting. So we are all having very distorted perception mirrors. And this is not only that, it's like a theory about it. Even science now tells us, quantum physics now tells us that we all are seeing distorted things of it, we don't see the reality as it is, because our senses are very limited. And people with more senses, different powers, they can see things differently. For example, people can see auras, they can see colors. I don't see it, so it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? So knowing that our perception of truth is not the only thing, that's not the truth. So when we are convinced that I actually may be imagining, can I give it a try, that I keep my opinions and beliefs and images about myself and the world aside? Can I just keep them aside and begin to give a fresh look? And what is the harm in imagining something which may be beneficial for me? Now that I see that what I was imagining earlier, which I don't consider as imagination, that is not proving to be beneficial. So choosing what is beneficial and knowing that we are actually imagining all the time, why not imagine something which is beneficial? So that was the crux of the Yidam practice. I'll share the video with you later. Yes. Yes, Akshay, you want to?
Yeah, thank you for the great question. I also took a lot from that. What I wanted to ask was something personal. I wonder if there's others who feel this. I am able to meditate. I've been able to meditate for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes even. But what I have seen is every time I meditate, I feel extremely sleepy. I don't know what happened. So I have made it a point to do that before bed, because then I sleep so much better, which is a good thing. But I don't meditate during the day or in the morning. Why? Because, yeah, I will just fall asleep and I don't want to do that during the day. I have an idea why it might be happening, but yeah, stress coming out or whatever. But is there a way to address that, to move forward, to be alert after meditation, not just completely drowsy and sleepy?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for putting that forward. I think it's very helpful for all of us to reflect upon this. So it is a very commonly encountered problem to feel sleepy when we begin to meditate. That just usually means, and it also comes in Savitri, that usually our mind is overburdened and overactive. It's like we have a knife, and although that knife is very sharp and very helpful, but I don't just use it to cut fruits and vegetables. I use it everywhere. I use it on my laptop. I use it to push the buttons on my thing. I use it to mop the floor. So it's like we have a mind, and we are just using it at all the places where actually it is not necessary. So when the mind is overused, the only kind of rest it knows usually is sleep. So when we begin to calm our mind, and whenever we sit for meditation, such kind of a meditation, it does bring a certain kind of calmness and stillness. The body believes, or the mind thinks, that now it's time for me to sleep. It's not used to that kind of a rest in an active state. So in the beginning it happens with all of us, but that is not meditation actually. If the meditation is making us feel sleepy, it is not a meditation. Meditation must make us alert and more clear, like we have more clarity in our mind, not like a dullness. But it is an unavoidable thing that happens with each one of us. And suggestion by masters on meditation is that first make sure that you have good sleep. So what I do personally is that when I begin to whatever do my process, and if I'm feeling sleepy, I'm becoming drowsy, I make it sure that I rest actually. Don't force anything on me. Rest fully, and then when you are fully rested, like you are getting up in the morning, then you are fully rested if you have a good night's sleep. Then for 5 minutes you can bring the mind to the breath. And the successful meditation, how do we know that it was a successful meditation? When the mind feels more alert and active and clear and fully present. So when there is dullness and drag, that is not a successful meditation, but it is nevertheless a process which we all have to go through from time to time, because the mind will be tired from time to time, and it will require rest, and it will make us drowsy. So this drowsiness is this tamas, which is unavoidable in this course of evolution. It is we are all pulled by this tamas. down, like we all have been stones and pebbles at one point of time. Yeah. So then we have become plants and then insects and now a human being. So we still have that stone like consciousness, which is like a drag, like very heavy and pulls us down. It's unavoidable, but they suggest that to have a good night's sleep.
Yeah. So with the
Yeah,
meditation, sleep has improved certainly.
yeah,
And not to counter your point, just to
yeah.
get some more insight. So what you're saying is, yeah, keep doing that. And if you feel sleepy during meditation, just go to sleep, and then over time it will improve. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
In the morning, if you
So
feel
I'm saying,
sleepy, first thing in the morning.
yeah, I'm so usually first thing in the morning, usually if you have a good night's sleep, you would not feel sleepy again. And one another thing that I have realized for my own self, when things are very challenging for me, like there is suffering and misery and some kind of a challenge that I'm going through, there is some kind of a conviction that comes in me that no, I want to work upon myself. That also takes away my sleep, because I realize that this is like this, it is not working. My laziness, it's not taking it anywhere. And that's why in Buddhism, they again and again meditate on the preciousness of human birth. That how precious is this human birth which we have got after many, many lifetimes. And it is our only chance to collaborate in this process of conscious evolution. So again and again, they keep reminding. There is, see, we forget, I forget, from time to time. So whenever we meet, like we are meeting like this, we remind ourselves that it's such a precious opportunity that we have, and I don't want to waste it. So my pain, my turmoil, and the conviction to work upon myself, that also to some extent, I have seen, takes care of that sleepiness or dullness that I may feel from time to time. Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anything more anyone wants to add on or share?
At some point, can you please share what you do at Living Light and what your work is like, especially in terms of working with emotions and mental patterns and as it relates to health?
So we just shortly we just hold many study circles, most of them on Sri Aurobindo and the mothers, their compilations, their words, and some on Buddhist teachings, and some private counseling sessions. And as we realize that if this is a very long going process, a long dim preparation is man's life, so we all require many, that's why these sessions with NAMAH, for example, were very helpful, because it's like we are co-traveling. And since we have the uh, possibility of sleeping again and again, and we slacken down in our individual disciplines, so it's like a collective community. Like NAMAH, we have various workshops being organized. So there we have just open sessions who anyone can attend, and they are mostly study circles on mothers and Sri Aurobindo's words, including integral healing, what we were I think you were also interested in. So integral healing again is a compilation on true healing by Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So we take passages and then we take reflections of the group, and like that we discuss and study. Yeah. All right. Anything else anyone wants to add on? Okay. So the journey is not that smooth, we all know, and uh, from time to time, the older patterns that we think we have left, they will rise up again. That is why one of the cornerstones is perseverance. We will have to persevere, and we will have to know that I am not able to do today, I will be able to do tomorrow. Mother says that not to give up, and knowing that it's a very difficult process at times, because there are many old tendencies and patterns that may overwhelm, and not to give up, that oh, I am so unfit and I can't do this. Not like that. Knowing that I am the child of the divine, I am the child of the universe, and everything is possible for me. If I decide, everything is possible for me. So I'm taking just a few lines from Savitri today again, where he shares that how these problems will rise up again and again, but that's not who we truly are. There is more to it. So this is page number 483. I recommend this canto very much with to all of us. The parable of the search for the soul, where Savitri goes in the search of her soul. So here, it's like, how we constantly live our old habits and patterns, and there is nothing alert, like there is no guard sitting on the fence checking what is entering. We just allow all the thoughts and feelings to rush in and entertain them. So here he says, all things are carried by the porter nerves, whatever we are habituated to, and nothing checked by subterranean mind, unstudied by the guardians of the doors, and passed by a blind instinctive memory, the old gang dismissed, old cancelled passports serve. So we think that, oh, I have left that thought pattern or thinking pattern, I should not be going in that again. But it comes again, and if I am not conscious and alert, we are just entangled in that again. So old cancelled passports serve. Nothing is wholly dead that once had lived. In dim tunnels of the world's being and in ours, the old rejected nature still survives. So we have to take it as a fact that they will remain. All things that disturb us, they are going to remain, but we will have better things to do. So we'll be able to like keep it on the side, ignore. The corpses of its slain thoughts raise their heads and visit mind's nocturnal walks in sleep. Its stifled impulses breathe and move and rise. So those things which on the surface we may think that, oh, I am able to suppress, or now it's not in me anymore, but I can't fool anyone. It will rise up in sleep. I will have dreams of those things which I'm trying to suppress, but I'm not really convinced that I should let go of them, right? So dreams are a very good way to check whether things have been changed at our subconscious level, at the habit level. So whenever something changes at the habit level, like it becomes a part of our being, then we have a dream, and in the dream also we see that it is totally changed. Now it's not the older pattern that is working anymore. You're not behaving in the old way that you used to behave. So when it happens in the dream, I feel that it's a very good signal that something has happened at the deep subconscious level. All keeps a phantom immortality. The seeds of sins renounced sprout from hid soil. Our dead selves come to slay our living soul. A secret mass in dim inconscience gropes out of the inconscient and subliminal arisen. We live in mind's uncertain light. And then he goes further. He consoles us. He says, but that's not who we truly are. This is not all we are or all our world. Our greater self of knowledge waits for us, a supreme light in the truth conscious vast. It sees from summits beyond thinking mind. It moves in a splendid air transcending life. It shall descend and make earth's life divine. So just I wanted to share this part that we all will meet these earlier older patterns, unbeneficial patterns, harmful ways of thinking, our old storylines which are not yet dead. And yet, as I was sharing yesterday, that in the referring to the movie The Beautiful Mind, A Beautiful Mind, that we will choose to ignore them. We will have better things to do in life. So that is why Mother talks about Karma Yoga, or putting yourself to work. So all of us have various abilities and talents. Whenever we selflessly put ourselves to some work, negating our little me and my story and what I will get out of it, when we give ourselves to some work, we are able to ignore the other things very easily, which may consume a lot of our time. So I usually take an example that imagine that you are strolling around, taking a walk in a park or something, and somebody just abuses you or hurls an abuse at you, and you wonder that why, what bad did I do to that person, why did that person do that to me, and maybe you go to that person and begin to talk that, why on earth would you have any animosity with me, I didn't do anything to you, right? So you can get entangled. But imagine that you are not strolling one day, you have a flight to catch, and a person abuses you on the way. Now, would you have time to get entangled with that person? Or would you rather run and catch your flight? Right? So, if we have better things to do in life, if we have higher things to give ourselves to, then we are easily able to ignore all these repetitive patterns that will keep coming for some time. But I will have always a choice not to get entangled. And slowly, slowly, Sri Aurobindo says that then they lose grip over us. The old patterns, the old storylines, they lose.
Hello?
Yeah, Prabhu, can you mute?
புரியல.
I will mute. I am co-host. I can mute. Yes. So yes, so we always will have a choice. That's what I wanted to share. Anything here? Anyone? We'll have to make a choice every moment, and we should be available to the fact that I'm empowered to make a choice. Yes, so Rashmi ji is asking, when all of a sudden you are caught off guard and mind's old habits and caprices overwhelm you and you succumb. That guilty feeling takes time to disperse. Your suggestions. So, as I said, that these things will happen to all of us, that at times we are not vigilant enough and the old pattern or any attached spot comes and we are just taken over by it. We begin to ruminate about it, and again it holds some promise for us that I will get some happiness after I've ruminated enough or thought about that thing enough. This will happen. I can't help it. But the thing is that while it is happening, again, as we were talking about the mindfulness of breath, the moment I become conscious that, oh, I got lost again, you know, I can bring myself to breath again and choose not to go into the storyline. So I have a choice every moment. And even when we are feeling guilty, see, feeling guilty is also a thought. Now I am not recognizing, but I am actually choosing. I am choosing not to be with breath, but feel guilty. Right? What am I choosing every moment? The power is with me. Feeling guilty is my old pattern. It comes effortlessly. I don't have to make any effort to feel guilty. To all of us, feeling guilty mostly comes like a very natural tendency. But I have to make effort actually to let it go, to shake off the dust off my shoulders and totally be present here and now without any need of feeling guilty, because it doesn't make me do me any benefit. If feeling guilty is doing you any benefit, of course continue. See, this is what we call self mastery. है ना, mastery इसी को तो कहते हैं that I am able to choose what is benefiting me and I will do that only. Once I recognize that feeling guilty is not making me do any benefit, it's just draining my energies, I choose not to go into that domain of thoughts and feelings. So this is the choice where, and actually this is not, I'm just paraphrasing Sri Aurobindo, where he says that self mastery is actually a choice that you make every moment. So we all will have to become conscious, and of course, as we shared, that many times we will slip. Mother says, dust off your pants, rise up again, and say that I am ready to move on again. No need to go even for 1 second in that guilt or shame. And if we have went, to leave it right away, and again to be mindful of the breathing and to be fully in the present here and now, and knowing that I choose to not let myself go into those slippery slopes, because see, this is what we call self-love. So you want to take care of yourself. This is the temple of the divine. You want to keep it neat and clean. You don't want the old garbage again and again. So we choose. We slip, we choose, we slip, we choose, and rise up again, dust off our pants, shamelessly. Mother uses the word shamelessly because there's no point of shame. Yeah.
And every time going back to the mother
Yes,
with the garbage.
yes, yes, absolutely. So for those of us who resonate and have a connection with the mother, it comes very handy. Just
Yes.
remember the mother and yeah.
And the sansara and its attachments at times really overwhelms that it takes time, it is taking time, but of course uh, reliance on the mother helps. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think we all have to know that it will take time, and there is no need to get frustrated because it is a time taking process. Now we have to see. Now I use them as an example, like how we so easily clean our homes every second day or every other day we are cleaning our homes. We don't question why do I have to broom or mop the floor every day? Why does the dust keep coming all the time? I yesterday only I cleaned. Now again I have to clean. We don't question. We take it for a fact. So mind, life, and body. Mind is all thoughts, and the other things with it. Life would be all the feelings and emotions, and the physical consciousness, the body. These are all coming from that stone consciousness, the matter. Now, as we do and take care and dust and dirt and clean the matter in our homes, exactly what is to be done with mind, life, and body? Because they are coming out of matter. So, from time to time, they will accumulate dust and dirt. They will become unconscious. Yesterday I was conscious, or today again I have fallen back into unconsciousness. So, the only thing is to keep dusting, to keep dirting away. Whatever garbage is there, to keep cleaning, to keep sorting, to keep organizing. Taking it for a fact that it will continue to happen. Just like I don't question when I clean my house, I here also do not question. I just do whatever needs to be done. And that is why, discipline helps very much. Just like all of us, I'm sure all of us have a discipline for our homes. Whether you may not be doing it, some help will be coming and cleaning your homes, right? So, like that, we have to take care of our thoughts and feelings and the body. It is absolutely indispensable. We just have to do it if we have a taste for cleanliness. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody wants to add on or share anything here? Okay. So I'm just then continuing. So again, we have to come back to the thoughts and storylines in our head again and again because we do get entangled. And why? Because these stories in the head and the thoughts in the head, they hold promise for us as if we will get some resolution. Like relationships, we want a ground in our relationships. And when then some person leaves us who we held very close to our heart, it shakes us up that how could you, out of all people in my life, leave me? So, knowing that sansar or samsara, the worldly things, are fleeting, there is no ground that we have in the world. There is a groundlessness, and to be very comfortable with that groundlessness. We may not believe in that there is a divine, completely fine, but we see that groundlessness with our experience. That in my experience, everything is fleeting. My good relationships, they were there yesterday, today they may not be there. Good friends pass away, or I lose somebody to ill health, or whatever. People change their orientations, priorities change, they move away places, and things which were there earlier, they are not there. Like earlier, Jairaj ji was sharing the Bangalore, which it used to be the city of gardens. Now it's not city of gardens anymore. What can we do? It's the world is changing. So there is a groundlessness, and to take it as a fact that yes, there is a groundlessness, and to be comfortable with that uncertainty and groundlessness, there we can rest. The mind can then rest. because most of the times the mind is very busy trying to find a ground. So to get convinced that actually there is no ground, my dear. And wherever we try to find a ground in the fleeting appearances, sooner or later we will be disappointed. And when we will be disappointed again and again, then maybe one day we will rise up to ourselves and we say that now I am ready to take charge of my life. So all these disappointments have a purpose. They convince us that our soul ground lies within us, not outside of us. And again, as I was sharing yesterday, that then we can offer ourselves to the world rather than wanting and demanding from the world. What can I do for you? So I would like to take a moment, this moment which we were talking about, that how we have to continue cleaning every day. So Sri Aurobindo describes it in a beautiful manner. And if someone would like to read this passage from Letters on Yoga, I would like if someone can unmute themselves and maybe read it out aloud for all of us. Anyone who wishes to volunteer.
May I?
Yes, please.
The emptiness that you described in your letter yesterday was not a bad thing. It is this emptiness, inward and outward, that often in yoga becomes the first step towards a new consciousness. Man's nature is like a cup of dirty water. The water has to be thrown out, the cup left clean and empty for the divine liquor to be poured into it. The difficulty is that the human physical consciousness feels it difficult to bear this emptiness. It is accustomed to be occupied by all sorts of little mental and vital movements which keep it interested and amused, or even if in trouble and sorrow, still active. The cessation of these things is hard to bear for it. It begins to feel dull and restless and eager for the old interests and movements. But by this restlessness, it disturbs the quietude and brings back the things that had been thrown out. It is this that is creating the difficulty and the obstruction for the moment. If you can accept emptiness as a passage to the true consciousness and true movements, then it will be easier to get rid of the obstacle.
Yeah, thank you so much. So all of us, whenever we are ready to throw away all that is unnecessary in our nature, and to be, say, for example, what we were doing, to keep the mind in the present moment, silent and empty most of the times, not just like out of habit ruminating and regurgitating old thoughts and whatever, then we see that we come across this a kind of an emptiness. And he says that usually we try to fill it up with all the stupid things. And because we can't bear that emptiness, we maybe make all those old phone calls again that we used to make once when we were young. We begin to gossip with a friend just because we can't tolerate that emptiness within. So we fill up our time or the emptiness that we are creating in the being now that the garbage is more and more cleared. Since we can't bear that emptiness, we fill it up again. As he says, the water has to be thrown out, the cup left empty, clean for the divine liquor. The difficulty is that the human physical consciousness feels it difficult to bear this emptiness. It is accustomed to be occupied by all sorts of little mental and vital movements. So how we were talking that the mind just can't be still. It just has to think. It is obsessed to think. Like I was sharing how we use a knife in a wrong way. So it remains busy and occupied in all sorts of little mental and vital movements which keep it interested and amused, or even if in trouble and sorrow, still active. So even if that rumination or regurgitation of old storylines is bringing me lots of pain, I'm suffering, by thinking of them again and again, what that person did that to me and what I think of this and that. I'm suffering, but I can't stop it because I'm not used to that emptiness. And this is something, I'm sure this is an experience of each one of us. We just can't stop thinking and feeling about all the bad things that our mind perceives that are bad and that makes us suffer and we feel miserable about them. So this is where we have to choose. We have to choose that it's high time now, and I want to develop a new taste for my being. I want to do it because I really deserve it. And not only I deserve it, people around me also deserve it. Because when I change, people around me are influenced. So one drop of poison less in this vast billions of people who, our minds are all same, whether we are in Canada or UK or India, we all know that the condition of our mind is so bad. Can I work on myself? At least one drop of poison less. So that motivates me, as Akshayji was sharing earlier. That motivates me because when I see my own mind condition and I see, oh my God, billions of us are suffering like that. How can we do that? I sometimes wonder, when I'm driving, at times when the mind is overwhelmed and, we are all driving. I wonder that how is it that so many accidents are not happening because the minds are really so clouded and hazy. It must be really grace which is making it work and we are reaching from office and home and back again. you know Otherwise we'll be just hitting each other like hell because the minds are really very chaotic. So we deserve this sanity. Mind and feelings and body are our instrument. This is how we express ourselves. And if the instrument is oiled well and kept in shape and all the parts and pieces are checked regularly, it works fine. So what we are trying to do, taming the mind, is not suppressing the mind. We are just ridding it of old bad habits, sad habits, which are not doing it any good, and we are cultivating good habits, good time pass, which will do it good. So earlier my time pass would be think about this person and that person and what I want from that person and my relationship with that person. All the promises from the samsara that we have. Earlier I used to do that. Now what do I do? Either I think of the mother when I have empty pockets of time, think of Sri Aurobindo, or if I don't want to do that, I can just relax the mind in the present moment and enjoy that emptiness and stillness. That is a pregnant potential of all the infinite possibilities. It's not just a void emptiness. And then we get intuitions and insights in that very receptacle which is mind. So in the beginning we read the mind is a mediator divinity. But usually that cup is always full of dirty water, so poor divinity cannot flow into it. So when I keep the temple clean, I keep my feelings clean, neat, the mind relatively silent and quiet and still, it is serving like a receptacle so that the higher insight and knowledge can also pour into that. That is the true purpose of mind and not this kitchad and garbage that we have at the moment. So we have to convince ourselves that we want that neatness and purity. And as Sri Aurobindo shares in Synthesis of Yoga, that purity and concentration are two very linked things. The more we are able to concentrate, it means there is more and more purity in the being. So, and there is more purity in the being, then we will be able to concentrate much better and for longer durations of time. So purity and concentration go together. And if at the moment I'm not able to concentrate much, it is a reflection for me that there must be many impurities and imperfections and wants and demands that I'm not admitting, but they are there. So they are very distracting in nature. Yes. Yes, please. Yeah.
So true, but how do you address them? Yeah, so true, but how do you address them? It's a continuation of what I said earlier about your feeling sleepy. My mind, it feels tired. I kid you not. And what you say is absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. Is there a remedy for it? Because this meditation has been going on for years now, and it's still not gotten to the point that I don't feel sleepy after meditation.
Yeah. I think, as Mother shares, that true meditation is when you do any work in the best possible attitude. So when we were talking of meditation through work, so I feel, and again I may be just very narrow here, suit yourself. I feel that when throughout the day 24/7 I am being meditative, like I am present to what I am doing, I'm fully here and now, then slowly when I sit for 5 minutes of a secluded meditation also, I don't think it would be possible that it makes you sleepy. It is just an overworked mind that makes us feel sleepy, because the only rest that mind knows is sleep. So whenever it feels a little relaxed, it thinks that now it's time for me to sleep. So I think maybe you have to experiment with it if you have not done that already. That 20, try to, just bring the mind to the breath, not only when you are sitting for 5 minutes, but even during your office work and the work that we do at home. Every now and then bringing the mind to the present moment with the help of breath, and just continuing, like a thread is continuing. And then it's not just like, oh, this is my time to meditate and rest all is maybe not meditation. So maybe that will, that stretch, that everything is meditation, that may, I don't know, you'll have to experiment.
Yeah, Alka, that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah. And also, as I was sharing and as was shared in this paragraph here by Aurobindo, that we have bad tastes, let's accept. And the bad taste that is that the mind and the feelings are always used to churn. They are just used to churning. I am not used to be still. I have noticed this too with little children. That usually they are very, very active. The moment you begin to chant Om, or you put some play recording of Om, or some soothing mantra, they immediately go off to sleep, because they are so active all the time. The taste they have is of overactivity, and the only rest the mind knows is sleep. So that is what we were sharing, that now we will have to be convinced that I want to change something in my life, which is that the silent and quietude is not only something that I get only in sleep, but a waking hour, the wakeful hours are also quiet and silent within, because then you serve like the best receptacle you can for the higher knowledge to come through you, like intuitive insights, good for your work also, for all of us. That when, and let me just share something here which Aurobindo shares, just a moment. I had written it down for all of us. He shares, there is nothing mind can do that cannot be better done in the mind's immobility and thought-free stillness. There is nothing mind can do that cannot be better done in the mind's immobility and thought-free stillness. When mind is still, then truth gets her chance to be heard in the purity of the silence. So we have to experiment with this, because we have enough experiments with a chaotic, chatterful mind. Let us also, like a scientist experiments all his experiments, let us try, give it a chance. Does it work? Does it not work? If it works, I will cultivate it further. If it doesn't work, I can always choose to go back to my older ways. Yeah.
Hard. It's very hard.
It is hard, yes. And as in the beginning, in the first session, I was sharing that first we have to get convinced that the world cannot give me anything. No matter how good things are doing in my relationships, in my workplace, I may be increasing in my name, fame, respect, everything. The world still cannot fulfill the void I have within. It can only be fulfilled by turning within. So there I have to get convinced. It takes time to get convinced. And I may be convinced in 10 parts of my life, But in the 11th one, I will again get attached and begin to ruminate and regurgitate, because there I am not convinced. There I think, no, I have to prove myself right, or there is something over there which I need to get. So we get again entangled. So we have to really truly get convinced that even the best of my loved friends, the best of my lover in this worldly life, even he or she cannot, he does not have the possibility that he can fulfill me, the void that I feel all the time. They can't. I think then it becomes relatively easier again and again if I keep myself convinced that there is nothing I'm going to get out there in those thoughts and feelings where I remain submerged. Then I can begin to get a taste of it, the new taste. So it takes time. And in Savitri also, Sri Aurobindo shares, an absolute supernatural darkness falls on man sometimes when he draws near to God, or in other words, to our true consciousness. So we all have to go through that absolute supernatural darkness. There are times where we feel things are not happening the way we think they should happen, and it's just too much void and emptiness. And these all are phases which we have to go through, which when we turn within and towards our truer self, which only we can access. Nobody else can access it for us. Yeah. Yeah. So any more sharings, anyone?
I think Monica, Nalini has this beautiful line of Sri Aurobindo's, when the mind sits in silence, the soul collects wisdom. So it's so true, isn't it? Sometimes when the mind sits in silence, the soul collects wisdom.
Yes, yes. And I think that's what it has to be, our own uh, felt experience. Only then we are convinced. So I'll just share something more with you. Just what Anahata just shared. Again, I reminded myself of some lines of Savitri. Here he shares. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests, all that keeps us busy, all that we are compelled to think about. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. A wider consciousness opens then its doors. And then, of course, it continues. So we all have to, go through this process where no matter how cherished our loved ones and work and family may be to us, we have to spend time where everything is left outside and we are just totally naked with our own self. There is no role, no obligation, no duty of this worldly life, and there is just pure inner communion. Knowing, being convinced that this worldly life actually can't give me that fulfillment that I'm looking for. We all are looking for that fulfillment. We can't find it in the world. The design is not such. There is a famous Kabir couplet, those of us who are versed with Saint Kabir in India. He says, Kasturi kundal base, mrag dhoonde ban mahi. ऐसे घट घट राम है दुनिया देखत नहीं. And wherever he says Ram, you can put wholeness or contentment. So he shares Kasturi Kundal Base. So there is a deer called Kasturi deer. We may know about it. It has a fragrance coming out, oozing from its navel. And what it does is that in ignorance, it goes outside in search of that fragrance. Where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? And it never finds it. So Kasturi Kundal Base. Kundal is the navel. That in the navel has the Kasturi deer got the fragrance. But Mrag Dhoonde Ban Mahi. He is looking in the forest. Where is it coming from? Aise Ghat Ghat Ram hai. He says, just like that, in every body dwells the true, the highest, Duniya dekhat nahi means we don't turn our gaze within. So only when we are convinced, we have had enough experiences of such sort, and that is why most of the times this kind of a search begins around 40s or 50s in our life, because by that time we have enough amount of experiences which tell us that nowhere can we find that true fulfillment. Then maybe because of a tragic situation or losing a loved one or something really difficult happening in our life, we turn the gaze within. So usually it happens like somebody has to hammer. Otherwise, we won't turn the gaze within. We'll always keep on looking outside. So we can be thankful, all of us who have gone through challenges and turmoils in our life, we can be so thankful that the grace is with us, so that we have got the hammer on our head, that we can turn the gaze within now. It's called heavenly cruelty in Savitri. Heavenly cruelty. So I wished that we could take up a few lines from Conversations with Sri Aurobindo by Pavitrada, where beautifully Sri Aurobindo is answering to the questions by Pavitrada, where he's also trying and struggling with the mind, and Sri Aurobindo suggests him many things, and some of the suggestions are very relevant to what we are talking about now. So I'm going to just pick up uh, a few conversations here. Like, for example, this one. Here he shares that the question Pavitrada asks is, I succeed for a few minutes in keeping myself attentive, empty of thought. But then the sensations return with a new strength. I do not succeed in turning away from a noise once my attention is caught there, for I have no object of concentration. So then Sri Aurobindo shares, the first step is not to withdraw from all thought and sensation, but to consider them as outside oneself, like just hanging them there, letting them hang there, and we are fine with that. We don't have a problem. We are not struggling with the thoughts and feelings. So the first step is not to withdraw from all thought and sensation, but to consider them as outside oneself, just like a fly comes on food. We don't consider the fly as the part of food. We consider it as coming from outside. So it is like, we can kind of ignore it or reject it slowly. So there are two regions in the mind, one active, the other calm and attentive, not dragged away by the movements of nature. It is this distinction that you must make. You want to go too fast by suppressing even the thought. I am not that. At the moment, this thought is your instrument. Remain the spectator of your thoughts and sensations, recognizing that they are outside you and do not affect you. Then the higher consciousness, Purusha, will descend and take possession of your mind. But never struggle, for in the mind, what you reject violently returns with a greater force. To struggle is to enter into all sorts of difficulties. So I feel that this is very powerful and helpful. Many questions were also maybe pointing, that should we reject or not reject? So we can gently see them there. We are the witness. They are there. I see the spider here on my wall. It is right in front, but I can let it be. I'm choosing not to get entangled into it. But I'm not saying, oh, why are you here? Push it away and shove it away and struggling with it. So that struggle will not lead us anywhere. Just like in A Beautiful Mind, we were sharing that how those figures are still visible to him, but he has better things to do. So this disentanglement has to happen for each one of us who is interested and inclined in working with the mind, that there are thoughts and feelings and sensations, Prakriti, and then there is Purusha, who is the witness. More and more we have to take the stance of the witness. And then we will have the power also to choose where do I want to follow the dictate of that thought, where I want to ignore it. As Purusha, we get the empowerment. We will get to that also in this very book. Aurobindo shares that as the Purusha consciousness, we get the empowering stance that, oh, I am the one who is giving sanction. So I can withdraw the sanction. I choose not to let myself be swept away, swayed away by these older feelings and patterns. Now I choose not to. So we see that the sanction is with us. But for that, this disentangling is needing to happen. And what we were talking of mindfulness of breathing, that really helps with this disentangling. Because when I become mindful of the breath, that becomes my anchor to become the witness. And there are thoughts, there are overwhelming, disturbing emotions or moods and moods. Many a times we outside of myself. Do I choose to follow its dictate or do I not choose to? So, just taking up something again which goes in continuation with this. Yeah, this is what I want to take today also. Yeah. So he shares here, there is in us a region which is above space and time, immobile, immutable at first. It does not participate in the waves of emotions and thoughts. The first step is to center one's consciousness in this region and keep it there. This is mukti. In us, beyond our personality, the Purusha is seen. Purusha is this witnessing consciousness, the knowing with many attributes which are successively unveiled. First of all, he appears as the witness of actions and sensations, untouched, unalterable. So we may have a very bad mood today, but when we see the mood, when we are able to take stance as the seeing of the mood, then we see that the seeing is unperturbed. That's not swayed by the mood, right? So the witness, first of all, he appears as the witness of actions and sensations, untouched, unalterable. Then he manifests as the giver of sanctions. He approves or refuses his consent to a movement of Prakriti, which is desire, thought, or even action, whether I should do this or not do this. Now the sanction lies with me. When such an order is given, as for instance, the refusal to take part in a certain emotion, though the past is yet strong, the being turns away from that emotion. So the disturbing emotion may be too overwhelming, but the moment you become conscious that it is there, you can choose not to follow the dictate. So the being turns away. Then Purusha is the knower, and in him is the knowledge. This knowledge has several forms. The lowest is intuition. So when we are able to keep the mind still and silent and relatively neat and clean of all the outer movements, then we naturally, because the receptacle is empty, we naturally get intuitions. So the lowest is intuition, then comes knowledge in unity. In any case, the senses are no longer avenues of knowledge, it comes directly. So there is a direct knowing which tells you what to do. You have not logically analyzed the sequence, but it just comes to you. This is what I should be doing, like that. And then he goes on, but I would not take that because to our purpose, the first 2-3 paragraphs and then this last one here, the first thing, and especially for you, is to stop the thoughts at will. One must first separate oneself mentally from the mind. One must look at it and study it. When that is done, it becomes easy to stop the thoughts. I don't want to take everything because that will be confusing for us. Yeah, I'll take just this last one. The first aim to separate yourself from your mind and know it as outside you. So the active mind we have to know as outside of us. To take the attitude of the witness. Let the thoughts come, but do not let yourself be carried away by them. Practice during meditation. And then you will have to infuse into daily life what you establish first in meditation. So this, as I was sharing with Akshayji also, that these 5 minutes don't just remain then 5 minutes. They become 24 hours. They have to. Otherwise we'll feel such a strong kind of separation in our life. It's not a very healthy separation. So slowly those 5 minutes will compel us to live a meditative life throughout. And what do we mean by meditative is fully present. We are not fully present because we are so lost in what the world can give us. So now when I realize that the world cannot give me anything, I stop running after those things and people. दौड़त दौड़त दौड़िया जहां लगी मन की दौड़ दौड़ थके मन स्थिर भया तो वस्तु ठौर की ठौर. Kabir ji says. So we ran and ran and ran, the mind. In every direction it ran. And when it got tired of its running, then it got still. And then it realized that the thing that it was trying to look for lies within. So this, what we read today, and again Conversations with Sri Aurobindo by Pavitra, is full of these instances of questions and answers, where again he's working with his mind and trying to do this disentangling first. Prakriti is there, all that moves is Prakriti. Thoughts, feelings, sensations is Prakriti. So knowing and taking stance as the witness, as the awareness that is aware of the thought, that aware of the feeling, aware of the mood that is there. So that disentangling we have to make. Yes, exactly, Rashmiji. Yes. Anumanta is the sanctioner, that we realize that we are the one who have been giving sanction by default. And now we choose to withdraw the sanction. So what is sanction? How can we use it in daily life? That there are thoughts and patterns, feelings that come to us, and we automatically listen to them. Like we don't give it a question, should I listen to them or not? We just listen to them automatically. So this automatic that is happening, in which we don't have to put any effort, this is like by default the sanction is given. But now as we become conscious that, oh, this emotion has arisen again, now I am conscious. Do I choose to follow its dictate? Do I not choose? Now I realize that I can withdraw that sanction which is by default given. And again, for those of interested in Savitri, the Canto Secret Knowledge, book 1, I think Canto 3 or 4, Secret Knowledge. In that, Sri Aurobindo describes why this is so. Why Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is this witnessing consciousness, and Prakriti is all the movements, life situations, thoughts, feelings, the happenings of life is Prakriti. So they have made a pact, Purusha and Prakriti, the two who are one. They have made a pact, and Purusha has said that you are the one who will be playing in the forefront. So life situations, thoughts, feelings, they are just too much on our head, right? And the Purusha, which is the witnessing consciousness, it is taken the back seat. It is not to be seen. It is now with effort that we become conscious that, oh, there is a witnessing consciousness in me, which has been witnessing. So that is a pact, that is a design that is of the creation. So in Secret Knowledge, it gets revealed for those of us who are interested. So I think I'll pause here today, and yes, Rashmiji, I'll share the book on the group. It should be available in Sabda also, but I'll share his PDF on the group also. Thank you. So tomorrow we will take up the power of thought and imagination in the light of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And today I think we end here, taking the crux of the matter that let me work on this disentangling. Sabda is Sri Aurobindo Book Distribution Agency. And Sabda is like a bookstore. In Pondicherry, it has its first thing, like the main branch. And it is also available online. Sabda online, you can see the catalog of all the books related to Mother Sri Aurobindo. And they can be ordered online also. So today we stop here and convincing ourselves that we will work on this disentanglement of Purusha from Prakriti because it is important for our sanity. And that is where we get empowerment, that I can choose where I want to dwell. I can choose the beneficial ones, I can let go of the non-beneficial ones. And still continuing the mindfulness of breathing, because that is my way, one of the ways in which I can come fully back here in the body, in the present moment. And I can deal with everything that is happening in my life if I am mindful, in a much better way, a much sane way. So we'll take reflections and questions if there are any. There's another practice that Mother talks about. I find that also very, very helpful here, since this is the context. Mother says that we do not know how to make our being completely still. So, in one anecdote, she says that just command your being to be still. Absolutely still. Like, whenever we talk about stillness, we have an image of a, say, mountain. But Mother uses very interesting image. She says that like a towel or a rag, a piece of cloth, is you've put it on the bed, and it's just lying still, relaxed and still. So, like that, at command, we must be able to make the whole being still, Mother says. Nothing should move. No feeling, no emotion, no thought. And the body also. So we have to get this taste of this stillness. It's a very rejuvenating state that we can enter into. Usually, whenever we relax in the name of entertainment or relaxing, we either watch TV, we nowadays watch Netflix or YouTube, or we sit with ourselves, maybe take a drink or something, for those of us drink, or some coffee, and then we think to ourselves of all the things and happenings of our life. Usually that's how we relax. So we have to cultivate a better time pass for us, a time pass which is more refreshing and rejuvenating, rather than you know draining us of energy in the name of relaxing. So when we rest in this stillness of the being, in the emptiness of the being, it is very refreshing. And Mother says that when you are taking a nap, for those of us who are at work and maybe we want to take a nap, she says it's very beautiful that if you really know how to still the being completely, then you just need a very short time to take a nap and then you are refreshed. It is the activity, excessive, obsessive activity of the whole being, including the thoughts and feelings and sense perceptions, that makes us very drained. Because as we were reading, they don't have a taste for stillness and immobility. So this is what we can cultivate along with the practice that we were doing of bringing the mind here and now. We can enjoy this stillness in the being. It's beautiful. It's a very beautiful connection, intimate connection that we can develop with ourselves. Very, very rejuvenating. Kabirji calls this taking a holy dip in the Ganges. The Ganges is within. So it's like you dip yourself in the Ganges. So when you stay as the witness, When you bring the mind to the breath, stay relaxed, still, that covers up for a lot of sleep that we may be wanting. So we may actually begin to sleep less then and work more maybe. Yeah. Could you recommend some guided meditation for this? You mean to make the being still?
Yes, yes, and eventually get to the point that, yeah, you don't get tired while meditating
Mm-hmm.
or
So,
sleepy while meditating.
yes. So I think there must be some. I never really checked out any meditation to make the being still. Whenever I want to make the being still, I just lie down, better lying down position because then it's completely relaxed state that we are in. And I just make the being still because I want to. We can do that. So I'm sure there must be some meditations also of invoking stillness in the being. And I'll find if there is anything that I can find. There must be something. I think there is one thing which is in the voice of Tara Didi from here, Delhi Ashram, Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi. There is one guided meditation on peace in the cells. So that thing I can find out and put it on the WhatsApp group. So even if without, and of course we need from time to time some music, some guided meditation, and feel free to make use of that. And at times our phone may not be with us. We may not have access to the YouTube that really is helpful. Even there, we should actually try. I feel that can I make the being still at my command? Why? Because I want to. And that is why Mother shares that the mind has to be like a friend in this journey. Mind has to be convinced because if mind is convinced, then you will able to turn, like mountains can be turned. So that's why the first session we spent totally on convincing ourselves. And if even now some of us are not convinced, the practice may take a shape, but it may not take a regularity and discipline because for that I need to be convinced. Not that I am saying or James is saying or some other person is saying that's why I would do that because that would not go very far. In our own life also we have seen whenever we have been able to do anything nicely, we have been able to do that thing not because somebody else may have told us, because we begin a taste for that, develop a taste for that. So we have to develop a taste, and once we see the benefits of it, then we will not be able to leave it in our laziness. I see it with myself that, like this process of being with the breath, there are many varieties of it. One is called breath work, where you continue with inhale and exhale without gaps. So thoughts are coming, feelings are coming, but you don't give them attention. You just stay like a rugby player has a rugby in her hand in his hands, and he goes from one goalpost to the other one. No matter how many left and right people are wanting to disturb him, he just has the ball in the hand and he goes to the other end. So like that, you have connection with the breath, and you continue inhale, exhale, inhale. It's called holotropic breathing, if I'm not wrong. So you do it mostly lying down. You continue a particular pattern of breath and without any break for 15 minutes, for example. And in that duration, whatever thoughts and feelings may be coming, you just brush them aside and you go ahead with the breath. So there, I feel that why am I going to do that practice every day for the required time? Because I know, I see its beneficial effects. Nobody has to motivate me. I am motivated. At times I may feel lazy, but then I complete my sleep and I do it whenever I get time. So we have to get convinced. Whatever practice we may pick up is beneficial. We have to get convinced. Yeah, any last comments or thoughts, anyone? Yeah, so let us, become convinced, and we all know that if we want to do something, we will be able to do that thing. We all know that. Whenever we have wanted to attend a wedding of our dear, dear friend, haven't we been able to attend it without all the, things that could stop us? We have been. So if we truly, truly want it, we will be able to do it. And if I'm not yet truly wanting it, then I have to convince myself, reason with myself, and maybe go through certain experiences in life which make me convinced. Yes. Yeah, any last things? Anyone? Yeah, so Jairaj had asked in the beginning. I think one thing I had already addressed. The second thing was the purpose of human life is not happiness but growth of consciousness. See, if I am diagnosed with cancer, or I lose a loved one, immediately I say, why is this cruelty happening to me? And where is God? I can't see if there is any God. As if the purpose was to continue in that state, because being in good health made me relatively happy, right? No one of us wants bad health, because health is happiness. Hmm? But I know personally that how much cancer has changed me as a person. So I call cancer a cheap bargain for a connection that I have got with myself, which again I have to cultivate. I can't take it for granted. So to cry that why me, why did God choose me, or why did the universe choose me so that this tragedy could happen to me only, while it is happening to everyone actually around also, is like, I don't want to be unhappy, I want to be happy, right? But what that experience is bringing me, I see that, oh my God, it's bringing me a lot of growth as a person. And I would at any moment of time go again through any such experience, rather than just living a very small hunky dory life and not really progressing much in my life. So to ask for, what Sri Aurobindo says or mother says, Mahakali, the blow of Mahakali, to ask for that experience because you're ready for it. Now give me all the experience that you want me to make me grow, because wherever growth is, there is a little bit of pain and turmoil we will have to go through. Even physical growth, whenever we are learning swimming, or whenever we are learning any musical instrument, we all know that in the beginning we all have to endure some pain in the fingers when we are learning guitar. So but I know that the practice is making me a better musician. So the purpose of life is growth of consciousness, in that sense that it makes us more aware of ourselves, and we are able to be better instruments, better workers here on earth, and not just like my little life and my four loved ones and we have a very pretty life. That can never happen. That is not the design of the creation. So in that sense, uh, we can reflect upon this.
It's a very profound thought, Monica ji.
Yes, yes.
It is,
It's Sri Aurobindo's. I'm just paraphrasing it.
it is very
Yeah,
profound. Thank you.
yeah, it is. Yes, and puts things in the perspective. Because then we stop crying about what we have lost or not we have lost, no? Because then we see that, oh, the purpose is to grow, so I will grow. Even if I have to cry through that growth, I will grow. So it actually puts things in perspective. Yes. Brindaji, you want to add on something? Okay, maybe not. Yeah, if anyone has any last comments or sharing, again, we have 2 minutes more toward designated time, so you can take it up or not.
I think when it comes down to it, Monica, happiness becomes like an inevitable consequence of growth of consciousness, because you're fulfilling yourself in a way that's unimaginably sublime, So you're happy for the sake of progress, the sake
Because of progress. Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. Thank you for adding that on. Yes. And Mother says progress brings us joy.
yeah,
Self-mastery brings us joy. Yes, yes. So that's true joy.
which is the true
Beautiful.
end. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So we continue with our practice of disentangling the thoughts and sensations and feelings from the witness and bringing our mind to the present moment every now and then. And also, if you want to dedicate 5 minutes during the day to it, feel free to do that, whatever works for each one of us. The thing is that it has to stretch throughout the day. It has to stretch. It can't be that 5 minutes of the day I am focusing on the breath and the mind is in the present, and rest of the 24 hours, whatever time is left, I am just lost. So slowly we will get to know that we want to be present in those other hours also, so that life becomes meditative.
Yeah.
Because we all deserve, yes, extending, yes.
Extend it bit by bit.
Yes, yes, yes. And knowing that it all takes time, so we have to be very patient and kind with ourselves, as we were reading and suggesting today. And let's end with 2 minutes of a focus on breath, and after that we can all leave. And if we slip, which we will, we'll just, without any judgment, keep bringing the mind to the breath. Thank you. So thank you, everyone, and wishing and hoping that everyone will continue some or the other practice that works for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monica. Until tomorrow, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Monica.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye, James.
Bye.